Hey, Stuff Dreams Are Made Of fans, we're here in Beverly Hills, California at Heritage Auctions for the big Guillermo del Toro Bleak House auction. The horrors of Bleak House. I call it that, no one else does. September 26th in Dallas, Texas. Go to ha.com, check out the catalog, check out the auction, order a copy of the catalog. And if you are in Los Angeles, the entire collection is on display till I believe September 24th. So come on down to Heritage Auctions in Beverly Hills, California and check it all out, or watch our YouTube videos because we checked it all out for you. If you've been watching these videos, if you've been hearing us talk on the podcast about this collection, you know that the collection is sort of split into two halves. There is the movie half, and then there is Guillermo the collector, and these things obviously overlap. And the other thing we've learned about Guillermo, of course, is not only is he a collector, but how important art is to him. He is a collector of art. He is an artist himself. He takes inspiration from art, and art is just super important. So this is going to be all about art, and there's no better place to start than when these Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein plates. This piece is the cover to the catalog. This piece kind of fills both sides because I believe that Mr. Del Toro was collecting these Frankenstein plates by Bernie Wrightson. This was illustrations for an edition of Frankenstein. He did a bunch for the edition, and then there were extra plates, and eventually they've all been published multiple times. It's some of the greatest work ever on Frankenstein, just the line work. There's no other word for it, just the line work, the detail. Just look at the shadows on the rock on the monster's hand. By the way, for those paying attention, this is not Frankenstein. This is Frankenstein's monster. Very important. Look at the shadows on the monster's hands. Look at the cloak. Look at the way you can tell the sort of the knit of this cloak by the way the black and the white interacts. Look at the leaves there. Just incredible. And this is incredible because it is now kind of a piece of movie concept art, because when you see Guillermo's Frankenstein movie, this is his monster. Bernie Wrightson's monster is a huge inspiration for Guillermo's film. So not only is this movie concept art now, but also comic art collectors, this is comic art, and this is an incredible comic art collection as well. This monster piece, like I said, is the cover piece of the auction. It is everything you want in a monster piece, and if I had to guess, he's probably got 10 others that are better than this one, but this is the one he's willing to let go. The second piece is really lovely. It's from these sort of wraparound sections, if you know your Shelley, of sort of the doctor sort of on the, in the wherever he is, the Arctic. Just a beautiful piece here with the sled dogs and the doctor. It's a wide shot, but just this sense of the bright Arctic sun, the reflections from the snow, but then also when you're out of the sun, the shadows on the rocks. Again, the line work. Look at the stitching. Just incredible. And like I said, this is an auction filled with collection art and comic art. Let's check out some of the comic art first. It's pretty incredible. Not surprisingly, Guillermo del Toro has amazing Mike Mignola comic art in his collection. Obviously, Mignola, the creator of Hellboy, Guillermo then directed the movie. This is a piece from 1990. It's from Hellraiser. It's a pinup, Clive Barker's Hellraiser, so obviously horror and whatnot. I believe this character is called Pinhead, but I don't remember anymore because I hate horror movies. But just gorgeous piece. And you can sort of see the influence on certain other things that Guillermo kind of got to later on, both in terms of the vampire stuff he did, and just obviously setting the scene, the red and whatnot. Just a beautiful piece. I guess I read somewhere in the catalog that this was something, a color piece from this period of Mike's work is something Guillermo hunted for a long time before he got this piece. It's pretty special. More Mignola. This is just a really just wonderful Hellboy versus the Grim Reaper, just almost like a sketch piece, although obviously very finished, from 2001. These are the kind of pieces that Mike would do at San Diego Comic-Con, do a bunch of different things like this and sell them, put them on eBay and sell. This is very nice from 2001. One of the things comic art fans are always looking for is when Mike really puts the blacks down in a really wonderful thick way, and these blacks are thick, and I love the scale. So you have small Hellboy, big sort of Angel of Death, really gorgeous piece. And then speaking of Hellboy, although not Mignola, we'll pop up, I'm going to do a do-si-do. Check this out. This is from the Hellboy Weird Tales, which was kind of an anthology book that Dark Horse did, where a bunch of different artists and creators were able to do short versions, like short Hellboy stories of their own. So Mike kind of Mignola opened up his universe. This cover is by Bill Stout, and obviously I think because of the Cthulhu art and whatnot, probably a very likely purchase for Guillermo del Toro. Wonderful, hand-colored by Stout, lovely like pen and ink details, and then the color. Just a very, just great monster in the background, really great rendition of Hellboy. Wonderful to see this cover. Speaking of Hellboy, another Hellboy miniseries. This is from Mignola with original art by Richard Corben. Now, Corben, I believe, was a real, what's the word I'm looking for? Mignola looks up to him. Mignola loves Corben. And then also Guillermo del Toro loves Corben and is a Corben collector and has Corben in his collection. So I think the combination of Corben drawing Hellboy was too good for Guillermo del Toro. We've got two really nice pages. This is a fight page from Mignola number 2. Really gorgeous, signed by Corben there. What I love about it is there's something, you still have the giant fist, the devil horns, the sawed-off horns, and yet the body, maybe more so the way Corben draws him, is very human, a very muscular human body kind of jumping out at you, which is really fabulous. And then a second page here, slightly more of a character page, talking to this sort of, chained up corpse. Just a really nice, almost like I said, more character page. The other one's more of an action page, but really gorgeous. When Corben sold these, a lot of these were sold on Corben's website, and if you didn't know he was selling them, they flew by. And so a lot of Hellboy collectors, Corben collectors, whatnot, had no idea these things were kind of like came and went. So to see two really nice pages from the Mignola story in an auction is really a special thing. And then, because, well, we're talking about Hellboy, so what about a Mignola Hellboy piece? Well, this one should do pretty well. From Seeds of Destruction, key moment from the film, a moment from the film that they actually do in the film. You have Hellboy, Rasputin, Liz, and you get a real sense, again, not exactly the way they did it in the movie, but like there's like Rasputin's robe, and there's Liz, and there's Hellboy, and you get a real sense of how I guess Guillermo was really bringing this story to life in a really incredible way. Just a really fabulous early first story, Seeds of Destruction, page, splash really. This one's going to go cuckoo. Now we're in illustration art. We're really into the stuff that I think Guillermo del Toro collected because he loved it, because it's an influence on his work. I think it's an inspiration on his work. This is an Arthur Rackham piece, I believe from the turn of the century. The story is called Mr. and Mrs. Vinegar or something like that. Just a beautiful kind of classic fairy tale piece, giant creatures. These two characters here. I think Rackham is a very important artist to Guillermo del Toro, and the fact that he let go of a piece and that there's an opportunity to get, not only to get a Rackham piece, which is sort of somewhat rare unto itself, but to get a Rackham piece from Guillermo's collection. Yeah. Another comic art great that is not a shock to see in Guillermo del Toro's collection. This is a wonderful piece, hand-colored, hand-drawn by Mike Kaluta from The Legend of the Five Rings, a Japanese story. Gorgeous, intricate sort of pattern background artwork. The outfit itself, look at the stitching. You can see this influence in some of the Japanese sort of almost pseudo-style engraving on Hellboy 2. Just a really simple, nice Kaluta piece. And again, not a shock that he would have Kaluta in his collection. More Corben art. This is pretty special. This is a wraparound cover for Vic and Blood, the tale of a boy and his dog. This is, I think, issue 2 wraparound cover. A Corben full original wraparound cover. Again, just a lot of telltale sort of Corben detail designs in these faces, sort of in the rain there. The bleakness, the blackness, bleak for Bleak House, I guess, but just something really incredible. And we're going to keep on going because guess what? He's got Crumb too. This is pretty neat. It's called He's Got His Hands Full. It's a farmer, and here we've got all sorts of government wasting government funds, the manpower administration, so kind of almost like a political cartoon or something from 1980. Don't know if it was ever published or not, but just a really interesting piece by Crumb that you actually can hang on your wall. And these are a couple of Corben, more Corben. These are just some life nudes that Corben did. Very interesting. And then a real highlight for our comic art collectors, a Mobius page from the Incal. This is, I don't know, this is sci-fi DNA that you're looking at. You know, when it comes to just all the various great sci-fi movies, you know, he worked on so many of them, including Alien and Tron and whatnot. But also, so many people took inspiration and in some cases just wholesale stole from Mobius. And this piece with these helmets and this sort of big control room, the getting off the ship, you can feel the pure sort of sci-fi DNA here, and it's just kind of magical to see a great page from the Incal story like that. These have been translated. Do yourself a favor, read this story. It's a real masterpiece. So now we're talking about really beautiful color painted art that, again, is part of Guillermo the Collector's side. I think part of his inspiration. Again, I'm not familiar with some of these artists, but they're just really wonderful to see. So I'm learning too. This is a piece called Baby on a Plane by Quintana. Just fantastic, just wild sci-fi piece like nothing, I don't know, like nothing I've ever seen. Just kind of wonderful on this sort of part creature, part bug, part airplane kind of a thing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to just be describing it to you, but I don't know what it is. It's just it's a piece that strikes me that he saw and was just like, I like that. And I kind of love that we're getting that peek into Guillermo del Toro, that sense of he saw it, he liked it, he bought it for him, the collector. So I think that's just really fun. And I'll flip around like this. And this is Martin Whitfuth, and it's called The Western Express. A bus heading to Babel, stuck in the desert with plants and trees growing out. Again, I'm just describing stuff because I don't know the piece, but I'm fascinated that this is something he saw and just loved, and it's just really neat. And there's just so much art in this auction, so let's keep going. This is actually a piece I've heard a lot of people talking about. So this is Chet Zar, who kind of works in sort of this sort of, you know, dark sci-fi world, and this piece is called The Pink Scream. I guess his own version of the Munch Scream kind of a thing, or at least his own sort of alien, sort of strange version of the Scream by Munch. Just, I don't know, really fabulous, but I've heard people talking about this piece, so I'm intrigued by it. This is The Cloud Tamer by Victor Sofokin, some kind of a giant in the cloud. This one speaks to me for whatever reason. I do really, really like it. Again, not exactly, sort of somewhere between sci-fi, fantasy, and just really cool painted illustration art. And this is an Alice in Wonderland piece, I'm assuming. It's Alice, another Chet Zar piece. Again, you're sort of seeing sort of a little bit of a horror. You have the through the door, doors, Alice. These are big things that sort of work as inspiration throughout a lot of Guillermo del Toro's work. And I can see why he would go for this piece. Looks like I don't know if this is actually a hand-painted, frame or not, but certainly just gorgeous framing too, and I have to assume he picked every one of these frames himself as well, which is pretty special. Part of Guillermo's collection, again, the cinema fan as well as the art fan. We've got two concept pieces from The Nightmare Before Christmas, obviously the Tim Burton Nightmare movie. What's wonderful about both of these are not things he acquired years later. These are pieces that he acquired from the Burton production, like right as they were sort of doing it. He knew people and got them then. They're very different than some of the other pieces you've seen that have come out over the years later. These are from production. You've got a wonderful sort of Christmas morning with a crazy alligator scaring the kid. And here you have a very sort of iconic sort of Jack piece going through the gate that reminds me almost of the movie poster art. This is something that Crumb was known to do from time to time. In fact, they've collected, it's one of his placemat drawings that he would just draw in a diner on like the back of a placemat. And they are actually now books full of his placemat drawings. This one is from, it looks like, hard to see, 04 or 01, but just very neat. He liked to sun himself in front of his house and drink his wine in the late afternoon. R. Crumb. we knew Guillermo del Toro loved Bernie Wrightson, but I had no idea this piece was in his collection. This was the only color piece. Obviously, all the Frankenstein pieces and the Frankenstein monster pieces are black and white. This is a full color painting for a Meatloaf album, Dead Ringer, huge piece, classic Bernie Wrightson sea creature, motorcycle blazing through the ocean. You can see everything about it that Guillermo del Toro would take inspiration from. I'm just shocked he owned it. I just think it's kind of cool. Makes me wonder, does he have any other album art? I don't know why, that's what I think. And this was a fascinating story. This is Andre and Olga Dugin. They are artists that he recommended to Cuarón when Cuarón was making The Prisoner of Azkaban and was kind of giving the Azkaban movie sort of a darker look, a darker feel. He wanted an artist to do stuff for the various product art. And so Guillermo recommended these guys, and then they made the Birdie Bots, so they had the candy store, they make the jelly beans with the gross flavors and whatnot. So you see this art in the movie. And then as a thank you, Cuarón gave this to Guillermo. So in some grand scheme of things, you are getting a sense of the artist that he loves, that he kind of passes on. You're sort of getting a sense of his place in the movie community, his friendship with Cuarón. This is actually movie art from the Harry Potter movies, and then Cuarón gifts it to him. So all that in one, in this one piece, I think this is a very special piece that oh my God, I keep saying special, hold on. I have my eye on this piece. I really love this for all those reasons. Animation collectors and animation fans may recognize this next artist. It's Ivan Durrell, who was one of the Disney conceptual artists for Sleeping Beauty. It's no surprise that Guillermo has this represented in his collection. This is a beautiful piece. These are sort of small color paintings, drawings representing kind of key moments in the film. Conceptual art, basically, for an animated film. Here we get a little bit of a sense of the castle and, of course, the forest. Very beautiful. Years later, when the work was done for Disney, Ivan Durrell did sort of gallery shows. And so this is just a beautiful piece that I guess Guillermo had in his collection. More of an original, not for an animated thing. It's called Mountains and Trees. It's just a painting dated from 1970. I actually think it's quite beautiful. I actually really love when I get a chance to see some of the more personal paintings that Earl did. I don't get me wrong, I love the Sleeping Beauty stuff as well, but I do love the personal paintings, and this is just very elegant and very nice. This is a Gahan Wilson original, longtime cartoonist for Playboy and also National Lampoon. Kind of a great gag of sort of the mountain eating some hikers, a very dark sense of humor. Again, something I could totally see why Guillermo del Toro has this in his collection. Animation fans, this is a Sleeping Beauty concept piece of the castle, an early concept drawing by Kay Nielsen. Again, you know, you're seeing some of these pieces, and I kind of keep saying the same thing, but it's true. Very Guillermo, very Guillermo. You can sort of see how these pieces, again, both are things he likes, but also things that influence him. We'll go to this one next. This is another William Stout piece. Earlier we saw the Hellboy piece, but this is a Fall of Stardust. It's a portfolio illustration. And I believe in the catalog, Guillermo talks about this piece being very Rackham-esque. So Arthur Rackham, who he has art from in his collection and in this auction. Very beautiful, just really elegant piece, but you can see it in the forest, in the creatures, just in sort of the drawing style. You can feel Rackham. We're going to keep on going down. This is another Kay Nielsen Sleeping Beauty piece of the Queen. In her sort of dining room, throne room, with, of course, scary torches, character sitting in a throne room. That sounds like something you might see in a Guillermo del Toro movie, maybe a pale man instead of a queen. And this is just, again, animation fans, you're seeing a wonderful Winsor McCay, Gertie the Dinosaur from one of the earliest, if not the earliest, cartoons. Winsor McCay, of course, responsible for, hold on. Jesus Christ. Winsor McCay, responsible, of course, for Little Nemo in Slumberland. Gertie was his creation. There are many, many cells. This is a particularly cute one of Gertie sort of laying down there. I guess, or if you want to be really dark, you could say maybe Gertie's dying. But anyway, there's so much art here. Alrighty, there's no better place to end than when we're talking about Guillermo del Toro's art collection, him as a cinema fan, him as an art fan. For inspiration, this is an H.R. Giger piece called The Tourist, because obviously these look like two tourists just visiting Earth for a visit. Circa 1980, so kind of right in the sort of aftermath of the Alien stuff, and obviously you're seeing this work. Giger originals are so few and far between, I don't even know how to tell you. I've seen in my collecting time, years of like going to San Diego and whatnot, I've seen one other one that was, two other ones that were openly for sale. This is pretty wonderful. It's interesting, it has elements to the Alien design. There are that sort of remind me of parts of Alien, but also remind me a little bit of the design work that he did on Syl in that other movie with the blonde girl that's an alien that I can never remember the name of, but Syl is the alien creature. You can kind of see that in here a little bit. Come on, a Giger. Where are you going to find a Giger? Find me a Giger. There you go. Find me a Giger. That's your challenge. You want to find one? September 26th in Dallas, Texas. It is the Guillermo del Toro Bleak House auction. Check it out on ha.com.